Hello, hello, hello. What is going on, Switchboard Live community? How are you guys doing today? Thank you for tuning in to our second interview series of Flip the Switch. Today, I am super excited to be talking with Mark Walter of MotorManiaTV. He's been streaming, man. He just told me some cool stories and I'm like, all right, save it for the actual interview. But he's been streaming since, what did I put? I put over 16 years. He's been streaming from. So, I'm super excited to bring you his story and to hear about what that change and that transition has been, because I've really only been live streaming for the last 2 years, I would say, right? And then so many things have changed. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in our Meet the Community Flip the Switch user, Mark. What is going on, Mark Walter? How are you today, sir? What's happening, man?
Doing great. We're excited to be here, and when Rudy suggested that we get the opportunity to do this, it was like, hey, that's a good idea. I think that we've been doing this a long time.
Yeah,
and the opportunity to really just share, just let people know where we were and where we've come to, and just the things, especially Switchboard has been a game changer for us as far as the ability to stream to multiple platforms, because we have people that love YouTube, hate Facebook, love Facebook, hate YouTube, people that hate YouTube and Facebook but love Twitter. So we have the opportunity to stream to all different platforms.
And I am hearing, so let me come back over here. I'm looking at the chat, and we are getting the audio out of sync and an echo. Interesting. I'm not hearing an echo on my end. So let's try to, this is what happens when you go live. Thank you, community, for letting us know. Let's see what's happening. Let me look at some of my audio settings, because I'm good on my end. Interesting. And we didn't have, let me see. I'm trying to, let's see. What do we have? And I got, thank you. My friend also messaged me, and it's on Mark's end. So usually no, but I don't think, Mark, you don't have anything open, right? Like another tab open
Nope.
of the stream?
No.
I don't have any tabs open on my stream, on my end. Let me make sure. I want to close all the stuff. Let's see. And let me just look at my audio settings. Interesting. Mark, we may have to have you come out and come back in again if I can't fix it, but let me see. Let's see this. Nope, that's not working. Give me 1 second. I'm also... Yeah, Lem, he's saying he didn't have any... I'm not hearing it on my end either. So my friend Lemuel said if you asked if you had some headphones. Mark, do you want to hang up and call back? Yeah. So hang up, call back. I know you do have the headphones. Let's see if that fixes it, but you were having issues hearing me. All right. So this is what happens when we go live. Things happen. So thank you guys for your patience and letting us know. Mark is dialing back in. So let me bring him here. Let me assign him. He is assigned. Let's come back over here.
Okay. Is that any better?
So on my end, you're good. Let me see. If it was easy, everyone would do it 100%. Joanne says, if it was easy.
Yes. We say that all the people. You have the people that say, "Oh, hey, I'll just do a cell phone and stand on the start line and stream." It's like, oh, okay. Let me know how that works out for you.
Yeah.
You want me to throw the headset or?
Yeah, you can throw the headset on. Let me know. All right.
Okay.
And the audio not being in sync, that usually catches up with itself. That's a latency issue. My bigger concern is the audio, the echo. Can you hear me, Mark? Because I know we had some issues before.
Yes. No, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So Let me see. Mark, why don't you say?
I am hearing. I am hearing some. I'm actually hearing myself at times. So.
All right. Let me see.
Okay. So now that seems to be gone.
I think it's because I'm not talking. If I talk, are you hearing an echo?
No.
No.
Now there. I just heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's an echo. Oh no.
All right. Hang on. Let me try one other thing here.
I think it's something to do with me.
See if that.
You're coming off good on my end. It's going out to the
headset, but
I'm
not hearing you now.
Now you're not hearing.
So.
All right.
All right.
Let's see. Yeah, that's.
Okay. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you good. It's the community for some reason. It's coming back double on my end. So. All right. So say something else, Mark.
Okay. Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
Let me see. I'm going to open up some settings. I feel like it might be, but it's interesting. I haven't changed any of my audio interface from before. I just got to look at my audio. I really do think it's an issue on my end.
Let me do one more change myself here.
There's an echo. Let's see.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you. Yep, all good. I can hear you there. If worst case scenario, I may have to get my headphones and I may just not use a mic because I feel like that could be it. All right. So we're going to put the countdown timer back on. I got to run upstairs to get my AirPods. I'm going to put the countdown timer. It's going to take me less than 3 minutes. I will be right back, and we're just going to go old school with, well, that's not really old school. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Yeah, I went ahead and turned my speakers back on, so since
all right. It's definitely I think it's definitely something on my end.
I use Brave browser. Should I use Google Chrome or
Nope. Brave is actually one of the better ones. It's something with my audio interface. It's been giving me issues and it has its own like loop back setting. And I feel like that's what the echo was, that it was bringing in its own loop back, but for some reason I couldn't turn it off. So for now, at least the show must go on. So I want to check back. The echo's gone. Good. Joanne said the echo's gone. Thank you so much. So that's all right. Old school headphones. We're going to do this. Okay. Take two.
This is the thing about live. I mean, first off, this is one of the cool things about live is that these things happen, you work through them. And then, I look at it this way, as long as people are talking about racing, or whatever, then, they're not talking about the stream, then they're happy. So, and figuring out things and getting it sorted out is just kind of part of this whole deal. So.
100%. And, it's so funny because you talked about, again, pre-show when we were planning, one of the things that you said that I thought was so crucial is about, right, demystifying streaming. And I think, and this was not planned, right? So now, like, I'm going to tell the story. Mark and I didn't plan this, but
Yeah.
going back into that demystifying streaming piece of it, it's, I have, right, I have a fancy, this is a $400 microphone. I got an audio, I got all this fancy stuff. But at the end of the day, use what you got. And the show still goes on, right? We can still have a conversation. I can still find out more about you, get the word out there, right? Like really just continue on. It may not be the best audio, but guess what? It's better than having an echo. It's like, all right, let's work with what we have instead
Yeah.
of trying to figure out the echo. Go
Absolutely.
ahead, Mark.
All right. So yeah, no, that's the thing is that when you look at this and you look at these programs and what you guys do and what we do, this is about doing stuff live. You know, we're not $1 million production companies, okay? And what streaming does for the people that we work with is it gives them a level of visibility that they would have never received anywhere else, especially in the sportsman drag racing realm, which is, of course, our main, bread and butter for lack of a better way of putting it. But yeah, we've been doing this a long time. I mean, 2007 satellites, I mean, in Wilmington, Delaware, and we used Windows Media. We used the Windows Media integration. There was no
Right,
Wirecast. There was no OSB. There weren't Ecamm, all those different things. And we made it work, and it worked well. We've
right.
actually learned to be able to run commercials and different things at one point. So yeah.
Right, right, right. Um, yeah, I was trying to mute myself and I muted Mark by mistake. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to like get back in my element now. It threw me off, and I'm like trying to not be all crazy. Okay, so now that we are a little bit more settled in, why don't you talk to us a little bit about like? So I mentioned that you've been streaming since 2000. Yeah, it's what did we say? You said 2007, was it? 2007, so over 16 years, right? How did you
Yep.
get into it? Like, and what platforms were you using? Like, tell us that whole story because I think that that's so amazing.
That's back when the churches were really just starting to initially get involved in streaming.
Right.
And the only real platform out there was Windows Media, Windows Media servers, the
Mm,
software, all of that. And a buddy of mine came to me, Jimmy Biggs, and he goes, "Hey, I want to do this thing. I'm going to do video. Can we put it up and just do it?" Initially was just to do video and allow people to watch the interviews and different things that we were doing there. And that was pretty straightforward. You put the stuff on a server, you put a player on the website, and away it went. Then he said, "Hey, look, I want to look at doing streaming." So, '06, we did the regular video stuff. And of course, YouTube was like this big back then. And it was like, I said, let me go and pick the guys' brains at church and figure out how they're doing it. And so we went and we set up a server in Wilmington. And of course, the big limitation then was, do you have internet at the track? Do you have and what's the bandwidth at the server level? Because there was no real CDNs back then, so you could watch people coming in, and when you get to about 600 connections on uh, uh, on the server itself, it would I'd call my buddy and I said, "Jimmy, it's getting ready to crash." And he goes, "Why?" I said, "Because we're at just about the limit." And we would get to where the traffic in and out, the IP traffic in and out of the server was just would jam up, and it would crash, and then we'd have to restart and go again. And we did that for about a year and a half, and we got to a point where we realized that we were so far ahead of the curve with anybody else out there doing. No one was streaming in the racing world at all. I mean, if you wanted to watch circle track stuff or drag racing stuff, it was you spun the TV up and whatever channel it was on for us. And so we did that, and then we went from using Windows Media. That's when oh my goodness, I can't even think of the name right now. Yes. Anyways, Ustream, Livestream, and a few others came about, and we started using Wirecast. And that was a game changer. And we're still struggling with CDN type issues, but it was better. And we did that for several years. And we moved on in 2010 and created our own company. Jimmy was heavily involved in the TV world, and so he went back to the TV world, and we pressed on, and that's kind of in 2010 is when MotorMania TV happened, and we started doing stuff through that. So. And now we're on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, and it's been
Yeah.
quite the journey too. I mean, just technology wise, we
Yeah.
started out those great big heavy cameras that you see people toting around and using coax cable and
Yeah.
into this switcher and what have you, and now it's all fiber optic, and it's the technology is absolutely phenomenal. So.
Man, you said coax cable. That's just like taking it back all the way back, right to stream when you think about that. Joanne says
Yeah.
little fixed consumer cams on top of motorhome and lipstick cams. Wait, tell us about what are the lipstick cams?
Well, that was just literally. I mean, it was a lipstick camera. It had power, and it had a Type F connection on the end of it, and
Okay.
we ran that back to the motorhome into the little mixer that we had, and it was I can't remember the name of the mixer, and it was and there was no playbook. Yes, she's right.
Yeah.
So there was the we just that's what we used, and so you would have to move them. There was no zoom capability, and
Right.
so you would have to move them if you wanted a closer shot. Then you would literally physically go out and pick the tripod up and move it to the other location, and that was back in the bad old days. It's like I mean,
Yeah.
it was really. I mean, we were making it up as we went. Sound. Uh, it's been a couple of different ways that we've gotten sound from the announcer because that was a big deal. I mean, you've got all the
Right.
on-screen action, and then it's a matter of figuring out how you're going to get the audio in there. Well, initially we used a wireless microphone and a track speaker, and that worked pretty good. Well, then we ended up doing more and more of the tracks have their own FM broadcasts, short range broadcasts. And so now we bring it in through that most of the time. I'm going to say 99% of the time. It comes in through the radio, goes into the mixer, and of course, everything does its thing inside of there, and we send it out to the world. So it's come a long, long way, and there's capabilities now, wireless capabilities. I mean, before
Right.
if you wanted a camera on the start line, it was somebody out there physically, standing there with a camera and someone chasing cable, and hope
Right.
the battery didn't die. So yeah,
That's
it's
insane.
come a long way. It really has.
That is such, oh my God, such a cool story, right? Like there's so much we can learn from him. Like as you're talking and telling us the story, oh my God, I'm so glad he came on because everything like now, you're talking about the cables and all of this stuff. Now there's, the wireless HDMI transmitters that depending
Oh
on,
yeah,
right? Like that's, forget about cables. You throw one transmitter on, you throw your receiver on, and you are good to go. And
yep,
that's it,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely, and that's one of the things, and we tested a lot of wireless stuff too. Okay, I mean, I've
Yeah.
got some old IDX stuff that, well, today it's working good. Tomorrow it may not
Right.
be working so good.
Right.
So,
Right.
and we've
Right.
got some stuff now that literally will work to 3 or 4 miles of line of sight,
That's so
and
cool.
pretty phenomenal because we can do jumbotrons, we can do
Yeah.
wireless start line interviews, winner circle stuff, and literally we set the because we use motorhomes as our production vehicles. I
Yep.
set the receiver the receiver with we use a square antenna, and I will walk. I mean, I turn it on. I walk down to the start line, or you actually take the golf cart down there. And I mean, as soon as I turn it on, Joanne says, I have a signal. And we go
Yeah.
down, and the interface with because they still use the PA and the radio station, and it works. And a lot of people go, how do you do that? I go, I don't know. Okay. It just
Right.
works. So,
Right.
and I think a lot of it has to do with, we use Roland mixers and Sony cameras and stuff. And it, it integrates everything so well in the,
Yeah.
uh, uh, in the mixer. And of course it goes into the software and then it goes to the world. So
Yeah.
actually it goes
Yeah.
to you guys and then it goes to the world. So
Right, exactly, exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. We do some of the heavy lifting and stuff. So
yes,
that's
you
a
do.
good segue. How did you find out about Switchboard Live, and how long ago was that?
Well, actually, we go back to the days of Joycaster. So that
Okay.
was probably, well, let's see, I think Rudy and I figured out it was like 2019 with Switchboard. And I found it. I was just looking for a way to multi stream.
Yeah.
And it just, I did a search and it came up in the Google search and I'm like, oh, okay. And you start researching and there are other outfits out there, different programs. And it was like, okay, well, this works. I said, well, let me go try this. And so we did that and we went ahead and integrated it and it was working pretty well. And I said, okay. And then we got to the point where we could go ahead and hook the other platforms into it. I'm an RTMP guy. I'm an old school guy. I don't.
Yeah.
It's just easy for me because it's like the
Right.
code, the link, I'm done, and I don't have to get authorization for YouTube or
Right.
Facebook or Twitter.
Right.
Well, now Twitter is different though. It is you go through the authorization process with that because they don't have a true RTMP program there. So
Right.
but yeah, so the one other thing too is the replay stuff that we were talking a little
Okay.
bit about. Okay, of course we do that now through Wirecast, and it's very seamless and it's great quality. But what we
Yeah.
used to do was I literally had a Sony mini DV recorder that we
Okay.
would
Yep.
run the entire time. And then if something significant happened, then we would go ahead, we'd stop it, we'd back it up, and then we would play it. We'd have to switch. Of course, you'd switch over on the switcher, to go to that feed. And I think at one point we actually had a switch or something. It was pretty insane. So we were really happy when they came out with that
That's
product.
nuts.
And of course HD. I mean, that was the other thing too, is that with the level of quality out there now, HD is just a very real thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we're very fortunate in that because for the longest time it was 4:3. There was no
Yeah.
16:9, so there
Right.
was no HD.
Man.
And
That's such cool stuff, right? Like it's so like and that's one of the nuggets that you gave me pre when we were doing our tech check that you said, you with the software that the encoder you're using Wirecast now, right? Is that correct?
yep,
Right? And one of the reasons why you're using Wirecast is because it has that ability for the replay. So in any sort of a sports environment, that replay. So when you told me that you would take the tape, you would record it with the tape if you wanted to do a replay, stop, rewind, and then put that in. It's like, oh my God. So how long? All right. So how long would that, like, what was that process? I'm sure you got it down to a science, but how
I
long
mean,
was that?
it didn't. I mean, it really didn't take long. If something happened, it was like okay. And I mean, because she was doing. I'm not sure if you were doing production then, dear, or not, but I mean, you literally just stop,
Yeah.
rewind. You could, and you could see you had a monitor. There
Yeah.
was a separate monitor for that
Okay.
function.
Okay.
Okay, and
Okay.
so then you could start it and play it and get it to the point and pause it
Yeah.
and then bring it in to the feed and then
Wow.
go live. And now it played in real time. There was no slow motion function or anything like that. But if there
Yeah.
was a wreck or some type of an incident, it was nice to have that. Of
Yeah.
course now you look at a lot of the stuff out there, like Black Magic has some pretty interesting stuff with their jog features and all of
Yep.
the stuff. And
Yep.
actually, Roland has some stuff too. It's just that for what we do, to spend another $15,000 or $20,000 on a piece of equipment does not make a lot of sense. Okay, and the
Right.
feature in Wirecast works so well. Those guys have done, and the thing about that software is that we use such a small piece of it. I
Yeah.
mean, it was really, we use probably 10 or 15% of the capability that they
Yeah.
have in the software, because that's really all we need at this point. So we're looking at
Yeah.
some different things that we can possibly do, but we just have to, this is the time of the year because we're in that rest, the recoup and the repair time of the year where we've gotten
Gotcha.
all of the stuff that's broken. We got to get all that stuff fixed. We got to get the motorhomes ready and all of that,
Yeah.
and then just kind of recoup for ourselves, because you spend as much time on the road as we do. It's nice to be home,
Right.
and motorhomes are great and RV
Yeah.
parks are great, but
Yeah.
there's no place like home. So
Like home. I totally
there's
get it.
just no place like it. Okay.
I 100% get it. I 100% get it. Is this one of your boys, Jeremy?
Oh, Jeremy is actually our oldest son's best friend. Okay,
Got it.
and
Okay. All right.
and he is a very talented painter as far as automotive painter, and he actually works for a
Cool.
company now that builds the booths for the painting, to keep all the environmental stuff all squared away. So
Right.
yeah, as a matter
Very
of fact,
cool.
he's going to paint Joanne's car here.
Nice.
When he gets done with it, he's got a project in his garage, and he's working on that right now. And when he gets done with that, then he's going to take her car in,
Very
and do that.
cool.
Yeah, and then now
Very cool.
Barn, that you've seen Barn and make a
Yep.
few comments
Yep.
there. And now
Yep.
Barn he is our main chat monitor guy. Okay, there he is. Okay,
Gotcha.
and
Okay.
Barn, he takes care of the chat. He actually worked, and we have a chat bot in there now, that kind of handles some of the heavy lifting because we do a G-rated program.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
don't want to
Yep.
have to explain to my granddaughters or my grandson
Yep.
why so and so put that in the chat, or something that was said. So, and that's a very big. It's family friendly. It's G rated. It's in the contracts that we give all the promoters. That's the way we do things, and it's
Got
uh,
it.
it's it's critical. It's important that happens. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. Very cool. Yeah, so yeah, I can definitely relate with having a moderator and having, because it's bad now. It's true. So we're going off a little bit on a tangent, but it definitely is related to the things that we do, right? As, streamers, is there was someone last year, I think it was StreamYard, a huge channel, StreamYard's channel. So some people like to put the chat up, the chat
mhm.
overlay on the screen, right? Like, so you can see it on the show. And with some of the language that was showing up there, YouTube ended up taking down like the channel StreamYard, which is
Yeah.
a huge, service provider because of that. So it's nuts. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, they just changed that, okay? And
Yeah.
because I remember I was out searching one day on YouTube for something, and somebody said, "Oh, this is a big deal," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well,
Right.
So I went out and I looked at that, and I had no
Yeah.
idea that they said that there's issues with language, and this is a big deal, and especially for some of the gamer channels and everything else. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh,
Yep.
that's not going to impact us because we keep that down to an
Yep.
absolute, well, we don't want it. I mean, that's the thing. So
Yeah.
'cause it just
Yeah.
doesn't, there's no value, in my opinion. I'm an old guy, okay, but there is no value added to that, okay.
Yeah.
And you have to understand, I spent almost 30 years in the military, so it's not like I've lived a
Oh,
sheltered life, okay. So
well, thank you for your service.
yeah,
Appreciate that. What division did you serve in?
I was in the Air Force.
Oh, thank you for your service. Last week the guest Rico Lane, he's still in the Air Force as well. So they're both our first two guests.
Oh
Veterans,
wow.
appreciate you
Cool.
guys. He's 19 years he's been in the Air Force.
Oh, okay. So
So
he's sneaking up on that 20-year mark then.
he is, he is, he is. All right. So what I want to do is before we move on to some questions, I do want to look at your website a little bit. So let me see if I bring this on screen. That looks good. Let me publish this
There
here
you go.
on my end. There is the website. Is there anything here you want me to bounce to? Um, or
Not
just
really. I
scroll
mean,
through? Yeah.
it's we've had our own servers for years now, and
Yeah.
it, it's not as critical now because the bandwidth is shared, through the well, and we'll put YouTube if you clicked on if you go back up a little bit and you can click
Yeah.
on the 10th annual Southern Big
Yep.
Deck. Yeah, if you click on that, then that brings up the page. And one of the things that we really enjoyed about uh, live stream was the way things integrated. And so I've
Yeah.
used a program called Elementor and created a similar type of deal. So where people can see all of, if they want to watch everything and not kind of have to hunt through YouTube to find it, or Facebook
Yep.
or Twitter, they
Yeah.
can go here and they can see everything that we streamed the weekend. If they want to watch
Yeah.
Friday, they can go Friday or Saturday or
Yep.
whatever. We actually had a problem with connectivity on at
Yeah.
4 o'clock Saturday morning, and that there's the whole story behind. We didn't start till 10 o'clock Friday night,
Yeah.
and that was just one of those things where it was like, okay, but yeah. So we we had a glitch, and so what we do is if that happens, it doesn't happen very often, but I went
Yep.
ahead and I just pulled out that chunk, and we were able to show it. So there's one of the commercials that for the
Yeah.
sponsors that support the
Gotcha.
program out there, and that's something
Yep.
that's been really good. Uh, One of our big deals is we want stuff to be free to the viewer. Okay,
Okay.
so
Okay.
somebody's going to pay the bill. I mean, there are groups out there that it's behind a paywall,
Yep.
and
Yep.
we just don't think that benefits the sport. Drag racing
Yeah.
is really small in the grand scheme of things. If you look at NASCAR or
Yep.
the
Yep.
any of the Grand Prix stuff, open wheel
Yep.
stuff, those things are huge. Drag racing
Yeah.
is considerably smaller, and so to give the visibility to not just to the racers, the promoters, but to the advertisers and the sponsors as well. We believe that the best opportunity is to use the TV model, really, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
You get to watch for free, and these people support it and pay for us to be there and help out the promoters and everything else. So, yeah.
That's super cool. I'm absolutely loving this. I was looking at your thumbnails, looking at the little overlay you got on the bottom. Did you guys hire a graphic designer? Very cool. I love the colors that pop. This is super cool. I like this stuff.
That is all
Uh,
Joanne's work right there.
Joanne, you
She
were
does all the
super cool. I love
yeah,
this, Joanne.
she does all of the graphics, and that's the thing that is, we try to bring the whole package. She does the graphics for all of the events, of course the
Wow.
thumbnails, that we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have another team. We
Okay.
are right now scheduled for 60 events this coming year,
Okay.
and but she does all of the graphics, and of course
Oof.
then the lower thirds go in. That's just done through Wirecast,
Yeah.
and now Tony, our other team leader, he uses yes, a TriCaster, and so it's a little bit
Okay.
different, But
Yeah.
the biggest thing is we want them to look the same. So we want
Yeah.
consistency between the streams and the quality,
Yep.
in what they look like, all of those things. And of
Yep.
course, his stuff will be on here too. So, and Barney is right. Joanne rocks. So, and
Yeah.
we've been married.
Absolutely.
We've been married for 45 years now. So,
Oh, congratulations. That is super cool. I love that. Congrats, guys. Very cool. Love that you guys work together. Love your website. My brother is a car person. I'm gonna send him this website because I know he's absolutely he'll just binge on your content altogether, honestly. Very cool. All right, let's see. So on average, how many destinations do you stream to? What does that look like? And what was, I guess, maybe the most amount of destinations you've ever streamed to?
We have the most we've ever streamed to, I think, is, let me think now. We have streamed to five. So
Okay.
uh, two Facebook pages, Twitter, and then two YouTube pages. We have one promoter that
Okay.
they're trying to increase their social presence, and they're like, "Look, can you do this?" And I said, "Sure,
Yep.
we can do that. It's no problem."
Yeah.
So that's now every week we do three. Whenever our team is streaming, we do Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And then
Got
same
it.
on the ministry side, we do. I do a message on Sunday mornings, and it's the same thing. That's again, that's kind of how we ended up getting involved in Switchboard, as far as, because we were looking for something for the ministry side,
Yeah.
and it was just
Okay.
a bonus on the racing side to be able to do that. So, and it again, it's kind of like we talked a little bit earlier about. Some people love Facebook, they hate YouTube, they hate Twitter, or
Right.
vice versa. And
Right.
it's another one of those things where, hey, this person wants to watch it on Twitter, fine, they can watch it. The biggest thing we want, is integration of the various comments, I guess, is the biggest thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
working on that type of thing. So, because, well, and people pretty much, they don't get out of control. So they, they're pretty
Yeah.
good. They,
Yeah.
they understand the rules. So we don't necessarily have to really keep an eye on Facebook or keep an eye on Twitter. I mean, we're looking
Yeah.
at YouTube, because that's where, probably 90%
Yeah.
of our views are at. So,
Yeah.
and honestly, it is the best platform out there when you talk about the ability to push it out
Yeah.
wherever. Okay, I mean, it really is. And we rarely have any kind of CDN related issues. It's one of those things. It just works.
Yeah.
And yes, you're one person in a sea of a billion people. And when you look at how many users and how many content creators and everything else, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. But one of the things that we have found is that there is this thing we call primacy. And that is, the rule of primacy is, if you were the first person to do this particular thing in that environment, then you have a tendency, unless you just mess it up, you have a tendency to gain the most subscribers, followers, however you want to put that. And there are other people streaming on YouTube, streaming drag racing, and they're subscribers. And that's not, look at us, we're that good. It's just that we were first. And so we have all of our subscribers over there. And the thing that's really interesting, I think we are at 65,000 subscribers now, is that when we look at our subscription stuff, our analytics in the back end, is that there's a lot of people just happen to buy the channel and watch. They may not be a subscriber. So we're trying to figure out a way to get people to subscribe, because, when you get that 100,000 mark and so on and so forth, and those different
Yeah.
levels and things that it does for
Yep.
you in the algorithms and what have you. So
Absolutely.
we don't want to charge. We just are, trying to figure out, well, maybe we can put like the final rounds or the interviews or
Yep.
something like that up to where, it's like they can still see them if they want to scrub through and find them in the video, but maybe, we can just put those up on behind the subscriber tab, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. The
that,
members only kind of the community,
yeah,
right? Yeah. Yep.
absolutely, absolutely, the members only thing. So, and that would help
Yep.
with that. So, yeah.
Very cool. Well, 60,000 subscribers is great. I have 1,400 subscribers, so I have
I,
a ways to go, right?
we were there. We
Um,
were there. We understand. So,
little by little, right? That's what it is, your consistency. But you definitely say that, like, even from a content creator's perspective with what I do, that's all the things of you get people to your channel, but then how do you get them to subscribe? How do you, right? It's thinking out the box. And sometimes it's a mix of things. Sometimes people just come for that one thing and they move on. But it's a struggle for those of us that are in that space that just do any sort of live streaming. So I totally get it. All right. What's your favorite Switchboard Live feature?
Well, just the fact
Mm,
that the okay, you can have additional people. You can, I mean, when we added Tony in last year, and of course they've done some upgrades in that aspect of it, and just the functionality. And the destinations. It for me again. I go back to the RTMP thing. It's so easy. It's so simple. I just bang bang bang. It's there. It's easy. I go in. I set the stream up. I have it's set up for us. I have it set up for Tony. I have it set up for the ministry, and I have the ability to, you just go and you click and you. We don't do auto live, but we just, when it's time, we start, and you just click on it, start it, and it goes. I'm real big on things that work. Okay,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Switchboard works, and that is,
yeah,
I think, my background and understanding in the streaming business and the streaming world is that it's it's one of the things that uh, was so difficult initially was there were things that just didn't work. It
yeah,
just did not work, and or you'd have to go in and you'd have to change a setting, or you'd have to do this, or oh, there was a an update to the software that, oh, we
right.
forgot to tell you about that, and it's
Yeah,
like, so, and that's one of the things too, is that you guys are really good about communicating. We
yeah,
just did that changeover with the beta stuff,
yep.
and Rudy was like, Mark, he says, please, go ahead and do this, and I'm like, okay, okay, okay,
Right, right,
because he asked me one weekend. We're in the middle of a stream, and I'm not
right.
changing
I
anything.
remember he told me that. He did tell me. He's like, I gotta
It's
get
like,
this
I'm
customer
not
over.
changing
Yeah,
anything in the middle of a stream. That's, you don't.
right,
There's a couple different rules here. One is that when it's working, you don't change it. Okay, and the
right,
other thing
right.
is that it's like, something will pop up in Wirecast will say, "Oh, there's a new update," and it's like, "Good, we'll do that next
Eh,
week when we're not
yeah,
doing,
yeah,
this because
yeah.
inevitably something will happen." And that Tony got bit by that. He went to do an upgrade on his TriCaster at a big race in the spring, and it just crashed the whole thing. And he literally spent 30 some hours getting it all back together, and had to have a guy bring a program to him, and it was crazy. And so the rule of thumb is nobody messes with this stuff. Yes. So because,
I gotcha.
yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, I think we are pretty much good to go. You talked about it a little bit, but I do want to ask the opportunity. What are you looking for us to improve in order to make your experience better?
I think the thing with the chat integration, if there's a way that we can do that where we can have all the chats in one place. I mean, again, for us, it's not a big deal because we're not having any real issues over on the other platforms. But I think that would be something that would be beneficial for us, and I suspect for other people, because if they're using a different style of software to go from their computer to you guys, then having the chat all in one place would be a big plus. Beyond that, the quality is great. I mean, we have no issue. I mean, there's just no issues. India. That's the thing I think that's
Yeah.
so important for people to understand.
Yeah.
It works, and that is a big deal. Okay, it really is.
Very cool, very cool. Thank you so much, Mark. This was great.
Yep.
I mean, from a younger content creator who's just started, like literally in the last 2 years since the pandemic, to be able to hear, to connect with your story and how you've been streaming and, the things that you've progressed through. For me, I'm like, I need to talk to people like yourselves more often. One, to appreciate the tools that I have. And then two, right? It's like, don't reinvent the wheel. So if you've been successful, like, oh yeah, some of the tools maybe, right? Like we talked about wireless HDMI, the tools will be new, but the concept
Yeah.
itself, that's stuff we can learn from each other all the time. So I am, just for me, not even from Switchboard's perspective, but from my perspective, I'm so glad that I got to do this. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Anytime. I enjoyed it, and if I if there's something that comes up and you guys need me to come back, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Perfect. All right, everyone. So that is where we are at today. Once again, thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate you for coming in. Check out his website, MotorManiaTV. The links are in the description below. We did show it. Super cool stuff. So if you're into racing and drag racing and things like that, absolutely hang out on his website. Say hello to him and Joanne. Joanne, thanks for hanging out with us as well. And then next week, we are closing off the month where I'm bringing Rudy on to talk about, right, and I laugh about it all the time because he probably should have opened up the series, but Rudy will be on closing off the month of February talking about, his journey into content creation, live streaming, how he started Switchboard Live. He has a great story as well, so be sure to check us out next week, and I will catch you guys soon. All right, Mark, talk to you later. Thanks so much.
All right.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.